الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. We are still living and celebrating these holy days of the birthday of our Holy Prophet and his grandchild. For all of you, may I say, Khoshal Mubarak, Eid Mubarak for all of you and your loved ones. This is my second talk, and it will cover the period of the time of the Holy Prophet from his time when he migrated from Mecca to Yathrib. And the talk will consist of a number of issues: introduction, the arrival of Holy Prophet to Yathrib, the new challenges for the Holy Prophet and his followers in terms of demographic details and geopolitics of Yathrib, and the new Islamic rules, and of course some of the conclusions. Inshallah, I will do everything in my time. Okay. Introduction. You remember we talked that during the time of the Holy Prophet and his follower for 13 years in Mecca, their main struggle and their main priorities is how actually to oppose and how to resist the atrocities and the oppression of Quraysh against this new religion. So they did not have the chance or the opportunity to put the new religion principles in operation or in their daily life. The situation becomes worse and worse as the time progressed, to the extent Quraysh decided that let us get rid of this religion by killing the founder of it. And of course, you know that they made this very good and famous plan. And actually in some of the tradition, it was reported that even Iblis, Shaitan, has participated in that plan when he portrayed himself as an old wise man, and he advised them, basically advised them that to all of the tribes to participate in killing the Prophet, so it will be very, very difficult to his family and to his followers to claim the revenge for his murder. But of course, by the grace of Allah and by the bravery of the successor of Rasulullah, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, the plan was shattered. So the Prophet was commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to leave Mecca. And again, I'm not going to go through the details of that, but basically he migrated from Mecca to Yathrib. At that time, Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, it's called Yathrib, but of course, as later on, it was changed to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. One of the reports suggested or stated that the Prophet actually migrated from Mecca to Yathrib with his friends, Hazrat Abu Bakr. But there are, of course, other reports and other books and other claims that he was not with him. So when he arrived to Yathrib, there are new challenges for the Holy Prophet there, because if we look at the demographic details of Yathrib, Yathrib is a thriving place in terms of water resources, in terms of trades, and in terms of agriculture. But actually it has a diverse people. So for example, there were Jews there, and there are a number of them: Banu Qanayqa, Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza. These like big tribes of Jewish people. There were Arab there, mainly from the famous tribe, Al-Aus wal-Khazraj, they called, and there were Christians and there were others. Now, during that time, of course, there were a lot of feuds and fights, and the main fights between two groups, between Aus and Khazraj themselves. So this great tribe, and of course they were actually the backbone of the new religion. Still, there were a lot of fights and feuds among them. And from the other hand, there was a fight and battles, wars between Aus and Khazraj from one side and the Jewish from the other side. It was reported that the Jewish community knew about that there will be a new prophet will come in their Torah, in their books. But actually, when the new prophet, when the new holy prophet arrived and declared his mission and his prophethood, and because he was not from them, they denied every knowledge, and they became the main enemy of the prophet and his followers. Now, prior to that, of course, prior to the migration to Yathrib, the prophet has done a lot of secret work, a secret preparation during the Hajj time between a lot of senior heads of families from Yathrib. I looked at this and I tried to ponder on it, but my main conclusion on that work was very, very secret, and I personally believe that only two people, in addition to the Prophet, knew about it, and they are Hazrat, his only daughter, Fatima al-Zahra, and Amir al-Mu'mineen. I do not believe personally that any of his senior Sahaba and the Muslims actually they knew what the Prophet was doing in Mecca prior to his migration to Medina. In terms of the geopolitics of Yathrib, the main issue, the main thing which has been done by the Prophet is to create this new concept of brotherhood between the people, between the migrants who came, because of course you know that after his migration the Sahaba started following him up to Yathrib and left their properties, they left their families, they left everything. So the first thing is he tried to make this brotherhood between the new migrants and the indigenous people of Yathrib. And of course, this between Aus and Khazraj. There are a number of stories about this, which time does not permit. And of course, also there is a famous personality, Abdullah ibn Ubay, at that time, who became, at later stage, who became Sheikh al-Munafiqeen and the head of Munafiqeen. At that time, this man was almost being appointed to become the king of the area. So you can imagine now, with this arrival of a new religion and the new prophet, this is a serious challenge for him and a serious threat for him. So in a way, probably his actions later on maybe is justified as far as him is concerned. Okay, I said the new Islamic rules because I thought about it, because I said, if I say the new rules of the Islamic State, that might create some confusion. So I chose to use the Islamic rules. So the Islamic rules, after the arrival of the Holy Prophet, was, this is the last verse of Surah Al-Fath. Surah Al-Fath, Surah Madaniyah, one of the great surahs, as all surahs are. But of course, there is no time really to go through it. But I read the verse in Arabic and in English, and I pick those three important pillars of how the new Islamic rules become enforced and become part and parcel of the daily life of the Muslims. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is the last verse of Surah Al-Fath. محمد رسول الله والذين معه أشداء على الكفار أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم تراهم ركعا سجدا. Okay. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah, and those who are with him are severe against disbelievers. First, severe against disbelievers, and merciful among themselves, رحماء بينهم. You see them bowing and falling down prostrate in prayer. You see them ركعا سجدا. So these three pillars. Let us just briefly analyze these three pillars. So the first one is severe against disbelievers. So just imagine, like, what will you do? What will you do with people who do not share your values, who do not share your religion, who are against you in an area you are control and you are completely different from them? Are you going to kill them? Are you going to confiscate their properties? What are you going to do? And actually history showed clearly and categorically that during that time the new rules of Muslims have not confiscated and have not harmed any of the people who are living there. This is completely in contrast with some of the Muslims, or they claim they are Muslims, and they actually take this verse out of context. We have to be very, very careful on that, because history showed that actually the new people, the new religion, the new head of state, the Prophet, even if we leave the prophethood aside, and if we leave the issue of he is a messenger aside, as a statesman, he had managed to make a number of pacts and agreements between him and his followers and a number of tribes, mainly the Jewish tribes. So, and to confirm my statement, if we look how the Prophet has actually kept telling people and confirming and urging Muslims to look and appreciate and value their neighbors. So, for example, if I have two neighbors, one is a Muslim neighbor and one is a non-Muslim neighbor, according to the Prophet's teaching, that my Muslim neighbors will have two rights on me, because the first right is he is a Muslim, and the second right is my neighbor. If my neighbor is not a Muslim, he has one right on me, which is the right of the neighbor. So if the right of neighbor is so much important in Islam, therefore the right of people as people will be even more important. So this is how to look at severe against disbeliever. Merciful among themselves. So رحماء بينهم. So okay, some people think that okay, because we are severe against disbelievers, therefore anyone who does not accept my views, my culture, my religion, and so on and so forth, I will have the right to banish him. And actually, again, if we look at this is a wrong attitude, because for very simple reason, we have the Prophet and his followers have accepted others, and we should have accepted others. But unfortunately, again, if you look at our history, that all this deviation and all this problems and killing and so on and so forth, what we are suffering now is really the result of this wrong attitude, that if you do not agree with me, you have no right. And of course, I will take it further, and I think that the main issue really is unfortunately the Muslim Ummah has deserted and has deviated from the holy Imams who have been appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just imagine if the Muslim Ummah, over 1.5 billion person, if we try to accept and tolerate each other, regardless of our madhab, regardless of our background, I think, and I'm sure you share this with me, the situation will be far, far better than the current situation now. And the third issue is ruk'a and sujada. Of course, I wanted actually to talk about the ruku' and the sujood, but I cannot due to the time. But I'm hoping he's not here. I'm hoping our dear brother Dr. John Muhammad will cover this in his excellent lectures about the salah. But I'm going to just share with you a few examples about how much this ruku' and sujood transform people, how much actually create completely new people with high level of spirituality and with high level of religion. The first example, one day, this is a beautiful story. But I'm going to wrap it up quickly. One day the Holy Prophet is sitting in the Masjid al-Nabawi. One companion who is very rich came and sat next to him. And of course, you know, it's as if everybody would like to come and sit next to the Prophet. They used to come like even early. And after a while, a poor companion came and sat next to the rich man. And this man, this rich companion, like pull his clothes away from the poor, from his fellow Muslim brother. The Prophet saw this, so ask him. He said to him, "Why you do this? Do you want your richness does not go to him, or do you want his poverty does not come to you? Why you do this?" So this companion was very embarrassed and said, "I seek forgiveness, and I seek forgiveness from my brother, but I'm not only doing that, I'm actually giving half of my wealth to this brother." So the Prophet asked the poor companion, he's very poor, like me, or even poorer than me. And he said to him, "Okay, what will you say?" He said, "Oh Prophet, I'm forgiving him. I have nothing with him from the bottom of my heart, and I refuse to take his half wealth." And everybody in the masjid was astonished. "Really? Truly?" Yeah. He said, "Yes." So the Prophet asked the man, he said, "Okay, why he is giving you half of his wealth from the bottom of his heart, and you are in need?" He said something like that, beautiful. "أخاف أن يصيبني ما أصاب," meaning I'm afraid, I'm concerned that when I have the wealth will happen, what will happen to me. Yeah, what will happen to him, it will happen to me. It's a great example, a great story if you think about it. The second example, one day the Prophet was giving a sermon. Okay, so this is official state. He's giving a sermon, and a farmer, again a poor farmer, came to say salam to the people. And again, one Muslim saw the hand of the man is not like my hand. It was really tough and rough hand. So this man pulled his hand from shaking hand to the poor man, to the farmer. The Prophet saw this. He left his sermon. He left his minbar and came running to the man, to the poor man. He took his hand in front of everyone and he kissed it 3 times. He kissed it 3 times and he said something like that, "هذه يد مباركة تجلب رزق حلال." This is a holy hand which brings halal sustenance for the family. And this is the emphasis on the rizq al-halal. And the third example, so we may say, okay, this is a prophet, this is ma'soom, so on and so forth. But I just want to share quickly with you a third example, which is not of ma'soom, which is happened to Malik al-Ashtar. I'm sure you all know this story, but just to remind myself and to remind you, Malik al-Ashtar one day in Kufa, and an Arabi came from the Badia, from outside Kufa. He saw this man, he just threw him with a stone. Malik al-Ashtar looked at him and he went away. Then another man came and he said to him, look, what have you done? He said, what I have done? He said, your head will be chopped today. He said, why? He said, do you know whom you throw the stone at? He said, no. He said to him, this is Malik al-Ashtar. This is the commander-in-chief of Amir al-Mu'mineen. What have you done? So this man started shaking and crying and of course worrying. He kept following and asking about Malik al-Ashtar until eventually he came to Masjid al-Kufa. He saw Malik al-Ashtar was praying. After he finished his prayer, he kept kissing his hands, trying to kiss his foot, and he said, please forgive me. He said, who are you? He told him the story. He said, look, I have nothing to do with you. I actually came to do these two rak'ah prayer to forgive myself and to seek forgiveness for you. So Malik al-Ashtar is not ma'soom. Is an ordinary, but of course it is a high level. So this ruku' and sujood and iman and this in your religion, this how actually should practically transform myself first and others. Finally, I'm good in time today, alhamdulillah. I still have 2 or 3 minutes, which I would like to share the conclusions quickly. So, in my opinion, the first conclusion, Islam is a peaceful religion. Islam is a peaceful religion. There is no intimidation and or aggressions in Islam against others, whether they agree with you or they do not agree with you. The second conclusion, the holy verses, we have to pay attention to this. The holy verses in the Holy Quran, which talks about war, which talks about battles and so on and so forth, those verses are only for us to defend ourselves against aggression. Okay, just to defend ourselves. But actually they do not initiate in any way, shape or format that we are aggressors or we become aggressors. The third conclusion, none in history, whether you support or you don't support, none of the imams, none of the holy imams have actually started in their, during their lifetime, any war, any battle against anybody else. Number 4, the implementation and the applications of Islamic rules have taken place. This is very, very important. The implementation and the application of Islamic rules have taken place only twice in history. During the time of the Holy Prophet and during those 4 years of the ruling of Imam Ali. And inshallah, in the future, when our beloved Imam, may Allah rehasten his appearance, he will establish the new Islamic rules of his grandfathers. Please do not be what's the word for that? Please do not be deceived. Yeah. Please do not be deceived that we have Islamic Khilafah and Islamic rules. Whether the first Khalifa, the second Khalifa, the third Khalifa, Bani Umayyad, Bani Abbas, Bani Uthman, all these were not Islamic rules. All these were based on ego, on tribes, and on personal interest. This is history. This is history. Whether you like it or not, if you analyze history, this is history. The first Islamic state, the first Islamic rules, the Holy Prophet, and the second one, his successor, Imam Amir al-Mu'minin, is only, unfortunately, only for 4 years, and of course in the future. And the last conclusion, inshallah, the birth of our Holy Prophet will be opportunity for us really and truly to look at what we need to do, how can we progress, how can we communicate, and how can we actually propagate and promote our great religion and its great teaching. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide all of us to the path of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. May I request you please to recite Surah Al-Fatiha for all our marhumin. Al-Fatiha.